Blinded by the light. Oh, oh, now this car is super bright. You join me inside the 21 BMW M3 competition. This is now the 6th generation of BMW's M3 since its introduction in 1986. And that car was a homologation special, meaning that BMW effectively had to make the road car to satisfy DTM's racing requirements. They made like 5,000 of them, and you know what? They did so well that BMW just kept making it. And so here we are 6 generations later with the G80 body style, and I'm pretty excited to drive it, especially as a previous M3 owner. I had an E36 M3 that I called Silver Fox, and I loved it, and I miss it sorely. Sad that I sold that car. But yeah, I know what BMW and specifically their M division can do to extract driving fun out of a sedan. And here in 21, the fact that they offer a manual gearbox in a car, a manual gearbox in any car in 21 is a rarity. But in a sports sedan, that just doesn't really happen. But you can get the regular M3 with a 6-speed manual. Not this competition one. You're going to have to go with the 8-speed automatic gearbox. But man, 473 horsepower in the regular M3 with a manual gearbox, that's pretty exciting to enthusiasts like myself. Now, if you can make peace without the manual and you want the 8-speed and you want the 503 horsepower of the competition, they're probably also considering its rivals like the Mercedes-AMG C63S sedan, the Audi RS5 Sportback, and the Alfa Romeo Quadrifoglio. All of those cars make tons of power, look really good, arguably better than the M3. And that really, that's the controversy for me. I saw this car first online and then in person, and both times I was like, did the questionable logic that allowed BMW to put that face on this car seep into their M division's design, or rather engineering prowess? That's what I worried about. But you know what? We're going to find out today on MilesPerHr. And there, oh gosh. Sorry, the color. There is the 21 BMW M3 competition. It is painted in Sao Paulo yellow. It's a no-cost option, so if you like scaring your friends and neighbors, then this, you can have this color for this car. It is a highlighter yellow, meaning that it's not just pure yellow, like a sun yellow or something like that. It's like a yellowish and in some light green. Either way, whether it's yellow or green, it's very bright. And because it's a highlighter yellow, sort of unfortunate for the M3 and M4 competitions, it highlights certain things about the car, certain things that I don't necessarily like. Actually, we're not going to beat around the bush here. I just don't like them at all. Hey, looking at you, grill. What's happening? What is going on with you? I have seen the M3 and M4 in more dark hues. So like I've seen a dark blue or a graphite gray or a black, and those really help you not go, wow, those are beaver teeth. Okay? So if you aren't a fan of this, some people really are. If you aren't a fan of this, you still like the car, which we'll get into more, why you should probably like this car, then you should choose a darker hue, because that's just going to sort of mellow out this. But the grille isn't even the worst part. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the grille for one more quick sec, okay? So compared to the standard 4 Series and 3 Series, the M3 and M4 don't do a honeycomb mesh on the interior and chrome borders for the grille. They subdue it somewhat by just going with these gloss black slats in the grille and no borders. Again, the highlighter is the border here, the highlighter color, and so it's really making them stand out. But on darker hues, they blend in much better because they're not having additional accents to really make them stand out. So that's the difference between the M3 and M4 and the standard 3 Series, 4 Series when it relates to the grille. My problem with the front of the vehicle is how many different things BMW seems to be trying to do with design. Everything is competing for your attention, and therefore there's no cohesion and nothing works. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so we've got these headlights here, and they've got their own distinct shape to them, some notches there, some design elements, a little roundedness in certain portions. Then we have the grille with its, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-ish. Okay, so they're octagonal, okay? Each of them are octagonal. Those designs. Then we've got a hard line here that kind of curves nicely down there. Then a harder, still roundedness with that curve there. Then we've got these larger air inlets for the competition models with this bisecting piece here and that shape, different shape. And then we come up here onto the hood. First of all, we've got pretty pronounced shut lines on the hood. You can see those from a while away, especially on a color like this again. And then we have these creases or these shapes depressed into the hood that do, I like symmetry, so they do go with each one of the grille openings, but that's a whole different design. You can just, the sum and total of all that is happening here. Then we also have these gloss black kind of front splitter pieces. It's just, there's so much happening, and they're all trying to grab your attention. BMW's going bold, I get it, but be bold in one direction. Don't be bold in 10 different directions. That's my critique for the front end of the M3 competition. Don't worry, the design gets better as you work your way around the car, but here, this is a lot to process. More specific things about the front end. This one right here has the shadow line treatment, so darkened headlight housings and darkened tint. No, not a darkened tint, not for this. For the taillights are a darkened tint for the glass piece. Just darkened headlight housings. These are LEDs, they are adaptive. Look, we got BMW LED right there. The turn signals illuminate here into these like spears. That's pretty cool. That I like. All good there. And this one also has the carbon exterior package for $4,600, JD? $4,600? $4,800? And so these inlets here are in carbon fiber. That's cool. The M3 competition and M4 competition get upsized wheels compared to the standard M3 and M4. So on standard M3, M4, these are 18s and 19s staggered. On the competition models, they are 19s and 20s. And let me say, this is where it's starting to get really good with this car. I love these wheel designs. They're intricate, but they have a general shape about them. They're a general star, but they're not just a boring star. They've got like all these cool geometric things happening. That's what I mean about some distinct direction that you're going, BMW, in terms of your design. One direction with some depth and dimensionality. That's what you did with the wheels. The wheels are a big success. So we've got this brushed metal look. It's more like a silvery finish for the outer portions of the wheel design, and then gloss black on the inner portions. Brakes. More competing colors here. We've got gold brakes. If you're a fan of BMW, you know what gold brakes mean, for the calipers rather. That means we got carbon ceramics. So the standard M3, M4 is going to get 15-inch front rotors, 14.6-inch rear. The competition gets 15.7-inch front rotors, 15-inch rear. So upsizing the rotors. The calipers stay the same. 6-piston fixed front calipers, single piston floating rear caliper. Good beefy brakes. Even the standard M3, good beefy brakes. Carbon ceramics, if you're not familiar, that's going to mean that you have better resistance to heat fade. So that's really a track driving appeal to get carbon ceramics. If you're just going around the street, don't trouble yourself with the extra $8,000+ for the carbon ceramics. And if you don't want gold to go with your yellow, which is just a weird combination to me, then just get the standard ones. Then they'll be in blue. Also love that these are wrapped in the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 275 section front, 285 rear. Excellent, excellent tires. Amazing grip. And you get felt pieces around the Michelin. That's just cool if you're a tactile person like myself. M3 competition badging here in the front quarter panel. Gloss black side sill. And a really strong line here. Design line, just look how far it sticks out. This piece right here is what I'm talking about. Just sort of juts out from the bottom to the top. Serious shadows it's casting on the bottom portion because of how much that line is extracted. That's cool. character line in this vehicle is not super well defined. It sort of comes from the headlight and then continues on below the mirror towards the back, but fades as you get to the rear quarter panel. As part of the exterior carbon package, we've got these carbon fiber mirrors. Every competition model is going to get a carbon fiber roof. This is just rad. Saves weight, looks awesome. Yeah, you give up a sunroof, but who cares? It's the competition. You're ready to be competitive and give up certain niceties for performance. So the carbon fiber roof is rad. Stepping back to look at the profile of the vehicle, I don't mind it at all. I like the profile in sum and total. The new M3, here's where you can really see how much longer it is. It's longer, wider, and taller than the previous generation. And the profile is really where you see at least the length. Rear 3/4, good looks. The width, the stance of the M3 competition is really pronounced here. The wide wheel arches. And looking here, see sort of the ground effects of this detail here. It almost looks like a car is coming out of the M3 competition. Someone just got a pair of pliers and they're just pulling it out. It's cool. Love the full-on rear end design of the M3 competition. It's discreet, it's cool, it's still got power because of how pronounced the lower portions of this vehicle are with that big diffuser there. Love the rear end design. They didn't mess with the taillights. They're simple, they're cool, and because this is the Shadowline trim again, these are going to be smoked taillights. Up here we've got a carbon fiber lip spoiler, part of that carbon fiber exterior package. And then down here, we've got gloss black. These are reflectors, these are not ventilation as part of the aerodynamics. Then we have a carbon fiber diffuser. It's a big diffuser with big quad exhaust ports. And you can look inside and there's not like itty bitty downpipes leading to large outlets. These are like good sized downpipes leading to also good sized outlets. A double rim here, the inner pipe, and then the finisher. The finisher. So cool diffuser, cool quad exhaust ports. With the competition and the regular one, they are dual stage, so open the valves and they get louder. Yeah, big fan of the rear end design of this vehicle, for sure. Profile, good, gets a thumbs up. Nose, what are you doing? That's my take. Feel free to disagree with me and let me know in the comments what you think of the design of the M3 competition. All right, let's go to the interior. On our way in, we can see that we've got smart key access. You can leave the key in your pocket, just pull on the door handle to unlock it. To lock it, you're gonna put your finger on these rivets right there, and we've got that for the front doors and for the rears. Maximum convenience. Open it up, looking at, whoa, blue. It's not just the exterior that's bright, the interior is bright as well. This cabin is finished in Yas Marina Blue. It's actually a very beautiful blue color. It stands out quite a lot along with the exterior, but it sort of goes, right? If you're getting a shouty exterior color, why not get a shouty interior color? And we even have the exterior colors accents in places on this cabin. Couple options equipped to this vehicle right here. We have the interior carbon trim, so we get some carbon accents on the steering wheel, on the faces of these paddles. Not the whole paddles in carbon fiber, but the faces are in carbon fiber. For the center tunnel, and up there on the dashboard, that's the carbon interior trim. We have the extended merino leather package for $25.50. That's going to give you merino leather in places like up there on the dashboard, in addition to the normal spots. And then these seats. These seats are so inarguably cool. Carbon buckets, $3,800 for these. Worth every penny in my opinion. They look incredible. These are some of the coolest looking seats on any production vehicle. I'm including supercars, because they've got the carbon fiber shell that actually you can see it really well from the back. Look at this. Look at that. You've got places for your racing harness to come in and grab you. Where you're going to set that up in this sedan, I'm not sure. You have to put some anchoring points up there and drape it through the cabin. I don't know, haven't done it with rear seats in place, but that, and then you've got hand grips in the seats. Not exactly relevant for a driver, but for a passenger, this vehicle can generate some serious G's. Having some hand grips right there is pretty cool. You've got carbon fiber accents. You have that merino leather in that blue color, perforation for the seats. They're heated. We have these suede elements in the same highlighter yellow. Suede here in black. The yellow contrasting stitching. And they're heated seats. Did I already mention that? I probably just did. They're heated seats. They're power adjustable was the addition I wanted to make. They're power adjustable, including for the bolsters. So you can fold in the side bolsters if you've got a skinnier bod, or let them out if you've been letting it out on some food lately. Just kidding. If you've got a wider torso, okay? The seats are incredible. They're worth a love letter just to this car for the seats. These M3 pieces illuminate at night as well, which is so cool. I just can't get over them. I love the seats. They're so cool. Worth every penny of that $3,800. So those are the options on this vehicle. The cabin is really quite compelling. Though I have qualms with the front end, like the other parts of the exterior design, the interior is all good. Really all good. We have M3 competition tread plates here. Leather for up on the dashboard, and then leather down here. This part's in blue. Got a little storage cubby in there. By little, I mean very deep, rather deep. Your light settings are here. You can see some of the ambient lighting showing up here. Yes, this vehicle is ambient lighting. Your street performance, sometimes track car, still has ambient lighting. The steering wheel thickness, I'll get into that in a second. Looking at the doors, the mix of black and blue up here. Black with this gray contrast stitch, blue with the yellow contrast stitch, all feels really high quality. Aluminum trim pieces in here. Leading up, this is some of your ambient lighting. It's going to show up at night there. Harman Kardon sound system, that's the standard sound system in this vehicle. How many speakers? I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest. But it's just okay. It's an okay sound system. It's not an upgraded sound system. It's gonna do the job for folks who aren't complete audiophiles. That's me. Open up the doors, solid feel to this door handle. Memory, 2-position memory seats. I mentioned they're power adjustable. Can't adjust the headrest because it's fixed, but forward, back, angle, no lumbar control in this vehicle. Window switches, these are some cheaper plastic pieces, I'll be honest, but they are one-touch up and down windows. Power folding door mirrors, press that button there. Hello. Goodbye. Lock and unlock. This down here is injection molding, but still feels pretty solid. Your trunk release. Push down, pops right up. It is not a power close trunk, so you will have to walk over and close it yourself. But it's a light feeling hood or door to the trunk. So let's hop in now. Do more than admire the seats, though I could do that for hours. And why not fire it up, shall we? So press the start button right there. Things come to life. Close up this door. Oh, the AC system's gonna go probably pretty haywire, so I'll just knock it down a notch. Looking at this steering wheel, fantastic wheel. Wrapped in leather, BMW tricolor stitching on the inner portion of the wheel to match the tricolor stitching on the seat belt. Gotta have that, that's cool. The carbon fiber trim pieces in there, leather cover for the airbag with stitching, love that. Didn't cheap out anywhere on that. Your M2 and M1 buttons just off the steering wheel with all of your presets on them. I mentioned the carbon faces for the paddles and little red-orange minus sign and red-orange plus sign there. They're decent sized paddles as well. They extend above and below the arm of the steering wheel. Go to the side and see the paddles. The backs have this textured, bumpy part to really help you feel like you're gripping onto something cool. The travel of the paddle is respectable, not tiny and not too much. Good paddle. So you get that red-orange on the backs of the paddles as well. Here are your turn signals, and pressing BC changes up some information in there. I'll do that in a sec, but first, the turn signals. Okay, let's turn this off for a second so you can hear those turn signals. Turn this around. That's what a BMW turn signal sounds like. You may not see it very often, but you can hear it here. Okay, and then you got the one touch, three blink, off it goes. Live cockpit display, 12.3 inch digital instrument cluster here. Not as reconfigurable as, for example, Mercedes-Benz MBUX system, which you can just change everything from what's within the gauges to the whole look of it and all that. There are a couple ways you can change this up. You can either have a map in this center or not. By pressing BC here on the turn signal stock, you can change what information is on the right side. So you can have a G meter, your media, the setup for your engine, suspension, steering, and braking, what gear you're in, fuel economy, kind of regular trip information, your turbos, or sorry, those are your wheels, your tire pressure. That is going to be your engine temp, and that's your boost down there. Saw PSI, immediately thought that. And then your pound-feet and horsepower that you're creating at that moment. That's what you can change up there. If you press the M mode button here, there it is, then this will switch to 2 tachometers left and right with just your critical driving information. This is for if you're on a track, you're just going to want to care about, hey, how close am I to red line? When do I need to shift? What gear I'm in? What speed am I doing? So that's what happens when you press M mode. I'm definitely going to turn the AC back on. It's a hot one today, so I can get some airflow going on me. So that's your live cockpit display. You get a standard head-up display up there with your speed and the posted speed limit information. You can also press this button on the steering wheel right here. And now we're going to show some of our media information, how you want to set that up. So that's on the head-up display, and that again is standard. Looking at the steering wheel, we have our cruise control setting. This one does not have adaptive cruise control or steering assist or lane change assist or any of the really sophisticated driving aids. It does have a lane keep assist system that works really well, actually. You can set up how late you want it to intervene with you departing a lane, and it will correct you with the steering wheel. And it does so not by ping-ponging you in the lane, but by actually correcting you and then recentering itself in the lane. So it does a really good job of that, actually. Got M here on the bottom of the steering wheel. What else we got over here? Showed you light settings over there, your air vents. These pieces right here are cheaper plastic, but hey, you got to save some money somewhere. The wheel is not power adjustable, it's manually adjustable. I prefer it so I can get to the right position faster. It comes out quite a ways, up and down, a fair amount of adjustment, and yeah, manual. So you can do that change pretty quick and on the fly. All right, looking at our 10.3 inch touchscreen infotainment here, and I'll use this moment to tell you that if you want to go really in depth, with all that's going on in the infotainment and other interior features and exterior features, go ahead and watch my walk around video for this vehicle, because I go crazy in depth. So this is more of a cursory, though not completely cursory, run through of the interior, but if you want to get more in depth, go watch that. So here's your 10.3 inch touchscreen infotainment. As I just said, it's touchscreen. You can adjust your home screen if you want to have different things show up right when you get to the display. Your media information, you get Sirius XM radio as standard. I believe it's a 1-year trial with the M3 competition. We have wireless Apple CarPlay. If you want Android Auto, yes, we have that. We have that now with the latest BMWs. The Android Auto system, also wireless, if you have the Live Cockpit Pro, which is on this vehicle as standard. So that's there for you. Navigation is also going to be standard and, pretty darn responsive. The graphics are good. They're not going to be mind-bogglingly good, but they're good. And it's as you can see, it's really responsive, super quick. Vehicle status, driving information, if you want to get into sport displays. Good, I had to just stop the flicker. I had to focus up the camera. Then it's going to show your G meter, your oil temperature, power and torque, all that, and your boost right there. That can just stay there. You don't have to just have it be a little window in there. It takes up your whole infotainment. If you're driving aggressively and you want to show that, stop the flicker, sorry. Getting back into the car, your M menu here, you can configure your M1 and M2. So how quick do you want the shifts? Or sorry, that's your engine. I was looking at the transmission. So efficient, sport, and sport plus. For the engine, for your chassis, you're just gonna have comfort and sport. For your steering, you're just gonna have comfort and sport. And for your brake, comfort and sport. You can have your traction control system completely off, or in an M dynamic mode, where it's kind of still paying attention. Transmission, now we've got 3 settings for, you can have more aggressive automatic shifts, you can have more aggressive manual shifts, more or less aggressive. This is a cool one, M traction control. So this will cut in at a certain point. How aggressively do you want it to cut in, or how much slack do you want it to give you for wheel slip? So think of it like a drift control. You can have a really wide out slide if you want, and it's completely off or just in like a 1 setting, or you can have it cut in really early, and so you just slip just a touch. So it's like a drift control that you have. That's pretty neat. Sound control, do you want the exhaust louder or quieter? And yes, they do pipe in some of the noise through the speakers and tune it that way. Back to the M menu real quick. So that's your configuration of that, your configuration of the head-up display, your instrument panel. I mentioned that you can either have a menu or a map or not. Here's where you change that up. And then, back. Anything else in M menu? The M Drift Analyzer. So if you get the Driver Pro package, I'm probably butchering it, that may not actually be the name for it, but this is actually going to give you a rating system for your drifts. So you do a drift, this is not my drift, actually I haven't used this system at all yet, but you do a drift and it will give you out of 5 stars how it was, the time that you sustained for your drift, how many yards you covered, and the angle of your slide. So you can just start a session, and when you try to do that, it's going to say, make sure that you're on a racetrack, you're not on public roads, okay? That is its advice to you and my advice to you as well. So that's the M Drift Analyzer, your media, bring this down, and if I had CarPlay hooked up right now and it was wireless, it would show me CarPlay up here, so I have quick access to that. Display settings, that's your infotainment. Down, and if we do want to find our ambient lighting settings, we can go to Car, and then Settings here, Interior lighting. By the way, isn't that cool? You got a picture of your specific M3 competition showing up on the settings screen, not just a regular M3, it's yours and your color. I like that. To interior lighting, and then we can choose from one of 6 different colors, and each of these, apart from white, because that would be redundant, has the option of that color plus a white accent. So not as robust in terms of your options as like Mercedes AMG with their 64 different color ambient light system, but you've got ambient lighting, and that is neat. You can also go to driver assistance here, or you can press this button there on the dashboard to bring up which driver assistance features you want to use. Do you want all of them on, or do you want to configure which ones and how early they're intervening? So forward collision mitigation, it's set up here as late. Lane departure warning with steering intervention, I mentioned this earlier. The steering wheel will intervene if you're departing the lane, and in this one it's set up where it's early, so it's not waiting until you've completely departed the lane and gone over. It's like, hey, you look like you're departing the lane, so I'm going to correct you with the steering. And then blind spot detection, blind spot monitoring will show up there, but it will also give you an alert, and it's telling you sort of midway through as you it looks like you're going to go into someone, it's going to alert you. So that's your infotainment and driver assistance features there. Dual zone climate control will be below those buttons. Our temperature controls on the left and right hand side, increase or decrease. You can keep it in automatic climate control while still manually increasing the air pressure. So if you're like, it's not cutting it, I need more air pressure, you can increase it while keeping it in auto mode, so then it'll default back to whatever it thinks you need. I like these knurled finishes for the opening and closing of the air vents. Neato. And then aluminum trim around that. Aluminum trim around the border of the whole climate area. And this typically is where you find in German luxury vehicles there's some creaking, which doesn't necessarily mean bad quality of the materials. It just means they didn't dampen the portions behind the materials super duper well, but it's usually centered around here. So I'm going to do a test now. Carbon fiber, no creaking there. Okay, a little bit of creak there. And I mean, I'll mention there was a creak, but there's no real feeling of depression. I can't really push in these things that far. Some more creaks, very light, and I'm giving this real pressure. So this is really not bad. And it's kind of only around here because you get into the leather and nothing on the carbon fiber. So that's pretty good, as German luxury vehicle experiences have told me. 3 stages for your seat heating, obviously for driver and passenger over there. Some of your media settings. We've got knurled finish for your physical volume knob, gotta love that. Mode and band buttons there. 8 presets along with your seek buttons. Do love the leather. I like that the leather color matches the rest of the cabin and it's right in there. Aluminum trim pieces here with the carbon fiber aluminum trim piece there. Leather on the borders left and right with a contrast stitch. Press on that aluminum piece and it will reveal a pair of modest sized cup holders. I definitely don't think my big bottle is going to fit in there, but I do have a wireless charging pad behind. USB-A port, not USB-C. Here's your key with aluminum border and that cool shape there. This is kind of a rougher plastic for your unlock, your lock that you press on the BMW crest for, your trunk release, your panic button, BMW M tricolor on the side, and more of that rougher plastic on the back. I like the shape. It feels pretty hefty, pretty high quality. That's your key. Push that down. And now we get to more of that aluminum trim piece and carbon fiber. So your 8-speed automatic gear selector with the BMW tricolor stitch in leather with the M imprinted there. That looks and feels very nice, along with the brushed aluminum base to it. Park button is going to be there. Reverse, you're going to push over and up, and that will bring up just a wide angle backup camera. This does not have a surround view camera system, which you may want to spring for as an option so you don't scratch up those really nice 19 and 20 inch wheels. Your adjustment for increasing or decreasing the shift tenacity is going to be there. If you want to go to drive, you pull it over. If you want to go into manual mode, you pull it over one more. When you're done with manual mode, pull it over once more and again. And when you're in manual mode, the plus and minus will illuminate. That's your cue that you're in it. You've got a physical button for your engine start stop system. Turn on and off your parking sensors there. Your traction control, you can press it once and you'll enter into MDM, M dynamic mode. Hold it and it will switch off completely. There we go, DC is inactive. Press it one more time, traction control is on. Here's where the infotainment, I'll go back to home for a sec. You can touch it, you can do voice commands. You can either set it up where your personal assistant, they call it, can be prompted. So you'd say, hello BMW, and she would respond. I've turned that off because I'm reviewing a car that happens to be a BMW and I'm speaking out loud. I might say hello BMW and not want her to actually be prompted. Or you can use the iDrive controller. With a knurled finish on the outside, you can just kind of work through the system by scrolling through this way. You can click it to get to certain zones. You can press down on it when you want your selection to be selected. And then you can scribble on it when you're entering characters into the navigation system. Some hotkeys here. You can go to the map readily and then zoom in, zoom out with this bad boy. You can pinch and zoom, I believe. I'm lying to you. You can't do that. I thought you could. The gloss black means that this is going to scratch and smudge, so your M3 competition won't stay super clean and nice for long. Your parking brake, pulled up to release, push it down to make it go away. You do have an auto hold button. I like that it's a physical button. You don't have to hunt into a menu for it. You just press it, because you're going to have to press it every time you start up the car if you want to use that feature. Your exhaust button, you can have it louder or quieter just by pressing that. Above that is a setup button, which you can press and will let you just go hog wild with the customization of your engine, chassis, steering, braking, and M traction control. This is not a screen that I think you'll find yourself in very often. If you own this car and set up your M1 and M2 buttons, how you'd use it. I set it up where M1 is all the settings I need for launch control, M2, all the settings you need to just slide like a hooligan, And therefore, you know, when you start up the car, it's going to go to its most efficient and comfortable settings. So that kind of covers the gambit for how you'll use the car. If you want to maybe go in here and then go to sport engine response, I can see that, but I can't see you every time going in and just individually optioning all these different things. That I don't think is how you'll use the car. If you own it, you'll probably hop in, hit auto hold, hit the exhaust button, and on your merry way you go. M mode, I already kind of showed you. Gives you this cool screen with the tachometers, and it will turn off your driver assistance systems. I think I said it right the first time. You can individually turn those back on. What you can't do is when you go into the track mode, which is why this is really just for the track, you can't turn on your driver assistance systems, like auto emergency braking, like really important things. You can't turn those on, and it's going to make iDrive just turn off. So there's really no benefit for you to go into M mode track on the street, road, or maybe sport. Okay, that's how you use it. That covers kind of the whole area around your automatic gear selector. Moving back, we've got the center console in merino leather with contrast stitching. Very nice. Open up, and it's actually a pretty good size center console for a compact sports sedan. No complaints there. You've got an additional USB-C port there, a little light to illuminate your business. That's textured and nice. Over here we've got our glove box, more leather, more ambient lighting. Glove box is of respectable size. Not huge, not tiny, no problems. Your rear view mirror in this interesting shape that's on all BMW models. Your programmable garage opener modes below that. Moving up here now, we've got the dome lights. Turn them on individually or together. Life's better together, okay? SOS button, pull that down, press it to call BMW's emergency services if you're in an accident for some help. Headliner is just in a basic fabric, so nothing special, remarkable there. Sun visors in that same fabric. Got your vanity mirror, hello, with illumination. And here's something, we're moving in the right direction, BMW, because the M5 competition I was just in, you could not slide the sun visors, but this one you can. Now granted, you can't cover all of the real estate of the window, so we still have a bit of work to do, but we're getting it. We're figuring things out, BMW, nicely done. Cheaper plastic grab handle there. And with that, let's go check out the rear seats, okay? Now, one downside to the buckets are you do have this huge ledge to get your leg out and over. So just, you know, fair warning. Back seats, finished in Yas Marina blue, just like the front. Looks so cool. It's just a really special cabin. Such a yellow car, special cabin. Looking at the door panels here, just like the front, we've got two colors of leather with two contrast stitching colors. Feels good, feels high quality. This part here, like the front, cheaper plastic around and on the window switches, but a nice aluminum, solid feeling door handle there. Harman Kardon speaker covers, injection molding down here like the front, aluminum trim, accent lighting in there. Oh, those carbon buckets, man. It's been a minute since I waxed poetic about these, so here you go. I still love them. I still love them so much. Looking at these seats, just like the fronts, we've got this perforated leather black piece right in the center, blue pieces around that, the yellow contrast stitching. The leather feels superb and really cushy and comfortable. Got the tricolor M seat belts, not just for the front seats, but also for the back seats. You got the suede yellow pieces around. This, hard to do at this angle, but this can come up if you do have a middle passenger. If you don't, you can pull this down for a pass-through for the trunk. No center console here though, no cup holders, no storage, anything like that. So you probably won't need to pull that down most of the time. Looking at this area here, let me hop in, show you that. This right here, we've got our air vents. This is all cheaper plastic around here. But we do have a third zone of climate control as standard in the M3 competition. That is cool. So you can adjust cooler or warmer just for your back passengers. 2 USB-C ports, not a third. So the middle passenger, should you have one, is out of luck, unfortunately. But it is a pretty big drive shaft hump, so let's try. Let me try to get in the middle seat. Try to do it. Okay, I can do it. And wow, this is actually really surprising. If I kind of slink forward with my legs, my head clears it. I don't have much room at all. It's very close, but it actually clears the roof in the middle seat. And it is raised a bit from the left and right seats, which also means, let's look at this. Okay, I'm doing acrobatics here. Okay, all right. Look at this. Look at my legroom situation. So 6 feet tall, that's my driving position, and most adults are gonna sit in something like this in the back seats. I've got knee room, the footwells are nice and deep so I can slide my feet under, and you can't see much there, right? But my head is not on the roof. I have a ½ inch, quarter inch, whatever of clearance. It doesn't matter how much clearance I have, my head clears the roof. My legs clear, I'm good. You can fit 4 adults back here comfortably, a 5th in a pinch. That's impressive. The vehicle has gotten larger in time and it's more accommodating to adults. I want to show you when I close this door. 1 touch down with the windows and then go all the way down. That's what I want to see. And 1 touch up. Good. Very good. You got a grab handle, you got hold on. They've got better support than you do. These seats are not buckets like a, coupe design sedan. They are genuine, normal sedan seats, so you don't have a ton of lateral support. You will go sloshing about on a racetrack or Big Canyon Road. Oh, door just hit me in the face. In the face. Let's look at the trunk now. What am I doing? We already looked at that, okay? We already looked at that, guys. I'm losing my mind. Get in the car, and we've got 2 last things to do. What do we think they are? What do we think? Yeah, 1 is gonna be your big bottle test. That's for sure. So let's see. We know where the cup holders are. They're in here. Will it fit? Oh, saw that coming. Yeah, that's not gonna fit, and it really doesn't even fit well here because it's just gonna slide around on this aluminum railing. Center console. I remarked that it was fairly good size. Now let's see. Oh, it kind of fits, but oh, it doesn't close. Oh, it's close, but it does not close. That means that's gonna, and it has a spring up. So that's, man, it sucks. It doesn't work. I thought it was gonna work. Door pocket, not big enough. Not big enough, and you can't. There's no other place in the door where it could even sit for me to do a door test. That unfortunately means that the BMW M3 competition fails the big bottle test because we're not using glove boxes. We're not doing that. So that done, what are we gonna do? Well, I'm gonna make the exhaust louder. Then I'm gonna rev it. Oh, no soft limiter, love that. And before we go for a ride, I'm gonna ask you to please like, comment, and share this video if you've not already. And if you've watched it this far, hopefully you're enjoying it. Please subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. All right, now let's rev it and go for a drive, okay? All right, guys, so as usual, we're gonna start off with some launch control. Now, to get everything all set up, you have a lot of steps. You have to turn off the traction control system, which means you hold this button for 3 seconds. Then you gotta click over the gear selector to manual mode. Then you need to dial up to the most aggressive shift setting. And you can then choose to press M mode to put you into Sport M mode, giving you the tachometer front and center. Or you can just put all these steps into your pre-programmed M buttons. I've done that, so I just hit M2 twice, and I've got everything I need ready to go. So I just put my foot hard on the brake, give it full gas, preparing launch control ready. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's so much torque. There's so much torque there. It really wanted to step out a bit. That's kind of terrifying. At those speeds, it wanted to step out in 3rd gear going into 4th. That's crazy. You can understand why they want to develop an X-Drive version of this, and that's coming next, or later this year rather, because it's going to really be able to put all this power down and get you an even quicker 0 to 60 time than the 3.8 seconds that are quoted for this M3 competition. The rear-wheel drive version 3.8 seconds. And that's before independent tests get to it, and we're probably gonna be looking at something in the mid threes. So I can't even imagine what the xDrive version, even with the extra couple hundred pounds of weight that it's gonna have, is gonna do for a 0 to 60 time. And that's the big thing with the competition compared to the regular M3, is the bounty of extra torque you have. So the standard M3, both cars are gonna get the engine, the same one that's out of the X3 and X4M. It's a 3-liter, of course, inline 6-cylinder, twin turbocharged engine that makes 473 horsepower in the standard M3 and 406 pound-feet of torque. You get the competition, you get better cooling, and they dial up the boost quite a bit. And so now we have 503 horsepower, so an additional 30 horsepower, and 73 more pound-feet of torque. So now we get 503 and 479 pound-feet of torque. That's the biggest one right there. Getting the extra torque is a huge one. So much extra torque that it really, I imagine, transforms how this car accelerates. And the peak torque comes in at just 2,650 RPM and hangs on very close to the 7,000 RPM red line to 6,150 RPM. So you've got just such a broad torque curve with all that peak torque being developed so early on and then just hanging on all that time. It's really just such a thrill when you tip into the throttle. So I'm gonna go back to now M1, which I programmed with everything except putting it in M dynamic mode, not completely turning off traction control and having it in auto shifts. I'm then going to put it into manual shifts, and we'll dial up the shift aggression to 3. So here we are, manual mode, quick downshift, so fast. Oh, and I've got traffic in front of me, which is such a bummer. But this vehicle has so much in it, and this transmission. So if you know, BMW had a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox that they used in all of their M sedans and coupes for quite a while. And they were thinking about bringing it over to this M3, but when thinking about adding xDrive all-wheel drive system, the packaging just didn't work. It wouldn't have worked to have the dual clutch. So instead they swapped for the ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox. And while I miss a bit of the perhaps just, I don't know, just mechanical feel and drama of the dual clutch, this 8-speed auto shifts just as quickly, holds on to gears right up to red line, and it's just a treat to use. I would still prefer, personally, a manual gearbox, but I understand why BMW has reserved the manual for just the base car, because that's really just going to be the enthusiast special right there. So I get it, you get a pass, BMW, you're still offering a manual gearbox in a car that makes 473 horsepower in 2021, so you're cool. But yeah, this 8-speed gearbox is really very, very good. And I can't get enough of this power. I swear 503 horsepower sounds underrated. I would not be surprised if it's actually making that like at the wheels. Let's go back down on some shift aggression. So in comparison to the standard 3 Series, they gave it some new aluminum componentry. So we've got new aluminum front wishbones and a torque arm. And then with a 5-link suspension in the back, they gave it some specially developed hubs and control arms, and then they added bracing for the front, center, and rear of the car. They also have distinct wheel bearings that allow for additional camber to be dialed in compared to the standard 3 Series. Sorry, this is just too much fun. I have to. Brakes are so good. Okay, so all of those changes make for a car that just corners flatter, and using the grip that we have here with these Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's and the limited slip rate differential just puts the power down so much nicer than the standard 3 Series. Now, getting into the steering feel, the one issue I really have with the M3 is only shown during really tight corners. Because when you're in a wide sweeper and you're constantly having some input to the steering wheel, there's great feedback through this electronic rack. Sorry, I'm gonna have to, okay, back up to more aggressive forget it. I'm going into manual mode. Manual mode, up to 3. Downshift. The really tight stuff, you aren't quite sure how much effort you need to put into this steering because it's a tiny bit dead directly on center. When you're actually in the corner, no issues. But when you're setting up for the corner, you're not entirely sure how much you need to give it. And in some cases, then you overboost the steering or you underdo it, and then you have to add input to the steering kind of mid-corner, and that's not what you want to do. That's my only really critique for how this car handles or for driving inputs, because it's just sensational in every other regard. What a driver's car, really. There's a tiny bit of body roll, but that's almost like extra communication. These brakes are insanely good. Do I think you need the carbon ceramics? Probably not, because the standard M cars stoppers are really very good. Almost the same on paper. You got a bit larger in terms of your brake rotors, but the carbon ceramics are going to make an impact in terms of consistent stopping power if you're on a track doing corners all day. So I don't think you need to spend the extra $8,000 on that. This is still the driver's car that M has always made, the M3. I'm so pleased I got a chance to get behind the wheel of this thing. It's just really very good. And it's so controllable if it does step out. It didn't right there, but when it does step out, it's so neutral, so balanced that you can just play with it if you want to. You turn off traction control and just play with it. Yeah, you've got your drift analyzer. You don't need to spend the extra $900 or whatever it is for that. You know if you're getting a drift right, okay? You don't need a scoring system for it. That's just bragging rights. I love how the tachometer is big and bold when you go into M mode Sport, right there in the head-up display. So you don't have to be looking down. You can keep your eyes on the road and know when it's time to shift. BMW M has done another wonder. And they haven't gone anywhere. Yeah, you got a weird face, car, but you haven't gone anywhere for anything else. And now we got to talk about the competitors, right? Because this car, standalone, amazing, but it has to be framed with what else you can get for this kind of money. So speaking of this kind of money, the regular M3 is going to start at just under $71,000. If you want the M3 competition, it's $2,900 more than that, which I think is a downright bargain. For the additional cooling and the extra power and torque you're getting, and the extra cool standard features that you're getting for the competition, like the carbon fiber roof, that's a heck of a lot of additional power and coolness for $2,900. Now, granted, at that point you are having to give up the 6-speed manual, so you got to really want just more power and better lap times and be willing to give up the fun of the manual. But that's the price, right? We're looking at just under 74 for the competition, just under 71 for the standard M3. Let's compare that to the Mercedes-AMG C63S sedan. That car, $77,000 and some change, so more than this car, even in competition form. It is going to make the same 503 horsepower as the M3 competition. 0 to 60 is going to be a bit quicker according to independent tests at 3.7 seconds. We have yet to see what like Car and Driver or Motor Trend get for their 0 to 60 for the M3 competition. Top speed is going to be the same at 180 miles per hour. Now, to get the 180 miles per hour, you do have to get the M drivers package in the M3 competition versus the C63S, just standard, is going to get 180 miles per hour top speed. Fuel economy, I didn't mention that for the M3. For the M3 competition, your fuel economy is 16 city, 23 highway, and 19 combined. It's really not great. And I'll add to that by saying that if you're driving this car hot and bothered all the time, your fuel economy is going to be pretty darn garbage. I've seen just the fuel gauge just drop so quickly. The C63S with a 4-liter twin-turbo V8 gets better fuel economy. It gets 21 combined MPGe. Okay. The Audi RS5 Sport Pack, that's going to be 76 and some change, and it's going to make less power, 444 horsepower. So again, higher starting price, less power, 444 horsepower. It is all-wheel drive, so faster, 0 to 60, quicker rather, 3.5 seconds. Top speed is going to be lower at 174 miles per hour. Fuel economy, it's going to be better, 21 combined MPGe. Then there is the current darling of the sports sedan world, the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. That's going to start at 77 and some change, just under 78. It's going to make 505 horsepower, so 2 more horsepower than this and the C63. The 0 to 60 time for that is going to be 3.6 seconds, which is impressive because it's rear-wheel drive like the M3 competition. And the top speed is going to be the highest of the set at 191 miles per hour. That's crazy for under 80 grand. And the fuel economy is still somehow better with its twin-turbo V6 than this M3 competition at 20 combined MPGe. So that is the competitive spread. I think the M3 competition's appeal is harder spelled out because it's only offered in an automatic with the competition and that power relative to those cars, because I don't love how it looks, at least on the front end. The driving dynamics are right there with the Alfa Romeo Giulia. They're better than the C63 AMG S, in my opinion, better than the RS5 Sportback. Where the M3 really drives it home for me, where I would seriously consider the car, is with the manual gearbox, the base car, still making gobs of power. Yeah, you take that hit on torque, but it's still gonna be tons of fun, and a real driver's car based on the inputs, based on the sensations I'm getting as a drive in this vehicle right here. That's where the M3 really sells it for me, and I don't think the other cars can deliver that because none of them offer a manual gearbox, and only the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio has the same level of driving fun and driving engagement. So the BMW M3 competition is a total win in my book. I would still have the regular M3 with a manual gearbox in a darker paint color to sort of hide that face. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please go ahead and like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time. More corners. I've been just talking this whole time. There have been corners to attack. Good car, this.